Please ensure that you are well protected using all necessary personal protective equipment before starting this procedure, including gloves. First of all, select the correct size pipette for the task and the correct disposable pipette tips. This slide shows the volume ranges for each of the pipettes that you may encounter and shows you the components of the pipetter. Here is highlighted the push buttons or plunger, the volume setting, the adjustment ring for the volume setting, the tip ejector, and the shaft of the pipette. The plunger has two positions when it is depressed. The first position is called the first stop. By applying additional pressure to the plunger, you will reach the second stop. Set the desired volume on the pipetter by turning the adjustment ring. Do not overwind the adjustment ring. The winder should move freely. Do not force the winder. Do not force the volume setting above the recommended limits. For instance, if you are using a P1000 pipette, 1000 is the maximum volume setting. Note for a P1000 pipette, the volume dial setting of 100 is equal to 1000 microliters. So for example, a value of 98 will be 980 microliters. For a P200 pipette, the maximum value will be 200 microliters and shows 200 on the dial. For a P20 pipette, the maximum value is 20 microliters and appears as a 200, meaning that the value is displayed to 1 decimal point. For example, 10.5 microliters is displayed as 105. In the following example, we will demonstrate how to use a P1000 pipette to transfer 500 microliters of stock solution into a new tube. Loosen the caps on the tube of the stock solution and the tube into which you are pipetting your solution. The correct way to hold a pipette is to grasp the pipette so that your fingers are covering the volume dial and your thumb rests lightly on the top of the plunger. Open the pipette box with your free hand. Push the pipetter firmly with a slight twisting motion into the pipette tip and remove the pipetter with the attached tip from the tip box. Close the tip box. Press the plunger down with your thumb until you feel pressure, which is what we call the first stop. Remove the lid from the tube containing the stock solution that you want to pipette. Insert the pipette tip below the level of the stock solution, keeping your thumb depressed at the first stop. Be sure not to immerse the whole tip in the solution, just the end 5 millimeters or so. With the end of the pipette tip below the surface of the solution, gently release the pressure on the plunger so that the liquid is slowly drawn into the pipette tip. Do this in an even motion slowly. Raise the pipette tip out of the solution, being careful to keep the pipette in a slightly tilted from vertical position. Put the lid back on the stock solution. Remove the lid from the tube that you will pipette the solution into and put the lid on the bench and pick up this tube and tilt it slightly. Now to deliver the solution drawn up into the pipetter, place the pipetter into the tube and touch the tip onto the side of the tube. Depress the plunger to deliver the solution in the pipette tip and apply pressure until you reach the first stop. And then apply a bit more pressure to deliver the last drop of solution. This is called the second stop. Now withdraw your pipette from the tube without releasing the pressure on the plunger by sliding the tip slowly up the wall of the tube. Release the pressure from the plunger and hold your pipette over the waste container. To remove the pipette tip, depress the tip ejector with your thumb that is directly below the main plunger. Now cap your tube.